My name is Charlene Koplin, and I have been teaching 29 years, 4 of them in California and 25 in Utah. So I started out in special ed and ended up working mostly with high school age kids with dyslexia. That's when I found Reading Horizons. They found me, kind of. And now I teach English to refugee students, high school age, at Cottonwood High School, and we're called the Language Academy. I had training in different reading programs. That's kind of what I specialized in. And there was, moderate success, and we had to record how well each student did with their IEP every year. So it was, as far as I knew, expected, maybe a little better. And then this new program came in, Read 180, and a lot of the students they could not decode well enough to access the program, which was a fortune. And so Reading Horizons had been at the high school I was at, and they said, well, you know what, why don't you try this to try to get them up so that they can access this other program. And it was amazing because I got to focus on Reading Horizons and the decoding skills in these kids who I had all the high school students who were at second grade reading level or lower, and I mean like 0.0. So we had them at the board. It was so much fun. I could not believe that it worked as well as it did. So for me, the difference was, I don't know the word, enormous, especially if you talk to the students and you saw their improvement and their ability to access just everything at school, their mainstream classes, and and then they got to go into the other program, but they still always really were appreciative of Reading Horizons because they couldn't have accessed it had they not had that. I think decoding sometimes gets minimized for the importance of it, and I know comprehension is very important too, but if you can't read it, you can't access it. So there was a huge difference. The training is what hooked me because I had watched a colleague teach it at the board, and I'm not a real linear, organized person, and I thought I can't do that. There's no way. It looked really technical, and I was very I really didn't think it was going to work. But I went to the training, and I was just sold. That's what really grabbed me, because I sat down maybe 20 minutes the whole day, and I really learned it by doing it. And there was a method, and for me where maybe organization can be a struggle, it's set out, it's sequential, it makes so much sense, and it was just, I was really hooked on, not phonics, but on, at the board myself, and then having the students at the board, and they still really love getting up at the board. I had some really good curriculum in different areas, but they weren't sequential, and it was kind of hit and miss. And I would teach like, I thought I was diagnosing what they needed. Okay, so my students need this, I'll do that, trying to be prescriptive. So I think I knew not a lot of the methodology, but not in a way that it made so much sense, and where the students could retain it. So it just all came together, I guess, with Reading Horizons, whereas before it was, I was really excited about it, but I let my students have the choice, because these were this was a group of students that could not either spell or decode, so they were very embarrassed because they couldn't access this program the rest of the classes were working on. And so I let them choose. I said, you can, anyway, it was a writing program that I felt like I was proficient at teaching, or this, and I said, I've never taught it. I just went to the training. I think you guys would like it, but you're gonna feel like a baby at first, but we all have to start at the same place. And I had like football players, the widest range of students you can imagine. And some of them could read, but they could not spell. And our school as a whole, we'd have bell starters, so every class the students went to all day, they'd have to write. So these kids who could read, they couldn't write, so they were failing like their classes, and they just acted like, I'm not interested, but really they couldn't do it. So I asked Linda, I said, okay, I have these kids who can't spell, but they can read, decode, comprehend, and then this other group that they're in 12th grade, first grade reading level over and over, and they are done, they don't. And she said, I think it'll work for both. And it was amazing because as I put the students at the board, they just became a community and helped each other. And it was like, okay, maybe I can't read, but, I can spell really well, and so I can help you with this skill. And then, I don't know, it was really wonderful how they supported each other, and just that this methodology could help both needs. Initially, it wasn't easy because I really, really wanted to learn it before I taught it. So my youngest daughter at the time, I would prepare a lesson, teach it to her the night before, and then teach the students. Linda said, don't worry about learning all of it, just do it, just start. And so I taught my daughter, and she loved it. And she really enjoyed it. And so it took, I really wanted to know it backwards and forwards so that I could help the kids. And so it did take time initially to just have the methodology be really ingrained. It is just for me to have a lab where I can have computers, and there are students that are at the point where they can just get on Reading Horizons and go to town, go use the library, kind of feel like they have autonomy in what they want to learn about. And then there are those that, I work with in groups of 4, and it's just, I don't know, I feel like if a person were to come in and look at my classroom, I think it would look really professional because because I really think I'm individualizing, and the kids feel like they have freedom and choice, and most of all, success. And they know, the other thing that I think makes it so much easier is they know where they started, their levels, and then they know how much they've improved. And that's just a built-in motivator. And the other thing I love that, so if I have a student who completed Reading Horizons the year before, and we always go out to dinner and celebrate, and they want to be a teacher assistant. So they come back in and they're like the Reading Horizons teacher assistant. And that alone, like the students are like, oh my word, you just got here a year ago from Cuba and you didn't know any English. She's like, I swear I didn't know any. And they're like, really? She goes, trust me. And that makes it so much easier for me because a teacher can say, this is going to work, but when you have a student who's just flown through it, and that makes it great and fun. There are 2 there are a million, but there are two that really stand out. One, and I won't mention his name, but he was from the very first year I taught, where he really tested at 0.0, and I am not kidding. He could not blend two letters. Just socially, like, he could talk, he contributed to discussions. No one ever would have imagined he couldn't read and or spell or write. And so, I was so nervous, and I said, I can't promise you. I don't know. I've never taught this. And, for him in the first, there's a story I tell a million times, but the librarian lost all our data on the hard drive or whatever server. So I had to retest them in a really short amount of time, like 3 weeks. And within that 3 weeks, he had gone to first grade. Now that might sound like see, I can't talk about this because he makes me cry, but he really learned how to read. I mean, and I just thought, he's maybe the one student who maybe he really can't. Maybe there's, and I'm gonna add something about making it easier. It's so great to have like the Sally Shaywitz information and the brain MRIs, because I think when they understand, students with dyslexia, that it's something within my neural circuitry and it really can be rewired and everyone has to start over. We don't know where the glitches are, and that made it a lot easier. And I forget I have that huge poster, and I had it in my room. But the other student is, she's from Cuba, and she doesn't mind if I use her name. Her name's Abby. She just graduated with I think maybe 4.0 from Cottonwood. Plus she's a phlebotomist. She earned that. She's a CNA. She got a scholarship to a local college. And she was a TA for me. And she's just really funny. But I asked her truthfully the very first year I taught her, where she didn't know any English, because she really did not want to go do Reading Horizons. And it was the primitive version kind of. I said, I don't care if you don't want to go. You're going to hate me now, love me later, is what my slogan is. But so I asked her, okay, tell me the truth of everything we did. The Oxford, the National Geographic, the Margarita Calderon, Reading Horizons, because she knew that I loved Reading Horizons, and she said, I have to say it was absolutely Reading Horizons, because she said it made sense and I remembered it, and it was like it was embedded in my brain. And she said that was it. The other, I did learn vocab. The other programs were good, she goes, they're great, but that was it. And that was one semester. She came in January and completed it by June. So she's, and she works really hard. It's not like, I don't think she would say she's naturally brilliant, but I think she probably is. But she just works so hard, and it paid off. So at one point I was teaching, 3/4 of the day special ed, and then 1/4 I got to teach an English language learners or an ESL class. And I thought, you know what? I think I'm gonna try Reading Horizons with them. And they were extremely rowdy group, and a lot of them spoke Spanish, which was awesome because they learn on Reading Horizons so quickly, I guess because of the cognates and everything. But so I just tried it, and they were rowdy, and at the board they were rowdy, and it was a challenge. But at the end, when I was compiling all the data, the kids that had dyslexia as compared to the kids that were learning English, it was like, you know, and we did a bar graph, and they were like, whoa, almost up to 12th grade. And it just broke my heart for my kids, like the kids with learning disabilities, although their progress was unprecedented. But they still had to, you know, they had to finish, and a lot of them didn't, or they would the next year. But the progress was so great that I thought, man, was I honest in my testing of them? And I think I'm harder than I could be. And then I asked Tyson, I said, can you get me like a test so I can compare? Like, so he bought me the Slauson, and so I gave all the kids the Slauson, and actually they did better on the Slauson than my data. So it wasn't, you know, it was whatever the word is, not legitimate, but you know what I'm trying to say, valid. So I now, like, teaching refugees English, it's really been rewarding, because there's, you know, all the vocabulary, and they really enjoy being on the computer. And when they get to the library and they get to choose, and it's amazing. Like, at the end of the year, I print out how many hours they spent in the library, like at home. Or there's one, Reading Horizons donated a lab to the Suriname Center, and so a lot of my kids live, in this little apartment complex, and one whole apartment is devoted to a learning center. And so they can do Reading Horizons homework there after school, which is really great.